Glass. You need to get 3 in the glass. Go. Oh, yeah. 1.
She was neutral on Clarence Thomas until Anita Hill's allegations. And now she hopes he will not be confirmed. Gloria Toot joins us as an attorney in private practice in New York City. She likewise is a Republican who has served as advisor to the Republican National Committee, is a strong supporter of Clarence Thomas. Barbara Reynolds is a familiar face. We are pleased to have her on the satellite from Washington, D.C. You know her.
Pick up 3 ice cubes, 1 at a time, and spit them in the glass. You need to get 3 in the glass. Go. Oh, yeah. 1.
She was neutral on Clarence Thomas until Anita Hill's allegations. And now she hopes he will not be confirmed. Gloria Toot joins us as an attorney in private practice in New York City. She likewise is a Republican who has served as advisor to the Republican National Committee, is a strong supporter of Clarence Thomas. Barbara Reynolds is a familiar face. We are pleased to have her on the satellite from Washington, D.C. You know her as the USA Today columnist. She didn't believe from the outset that Thomas should have been confirmed. And what she believes, among other things, what's happening to Anita Hill is verbal rape. Tony, let me just try this. We, the members of the Donahue audience, one of the most enlightened, talented, and informed collection of people ever to be found in talk showdom, believe that Clarence Thomas should not be confirmed. We believe that Clarence Thomas should be confirmed. Okay, all right. Thank you, one and all. Let's see if we can make sense here. Does this, Tony, let me pass here for a second. Barbara, does this shock you? Does this surprise you, this vote?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's very muddied. It's very confused. But if you will look at Anita Hill, the facts are really on her side. I mean, she came forth, she told, in answer to questions, it wasn't like a woman just was wildly trying to give information. She was asked. She gave the information.
Right.
She testified calmly, deliberately. She brought forth corroborating witnesses.
Right.
She took a lie detector test.
Accepted.
There's
Accepted.
2 more people
Then what?
that.
How come this audience is so significantly in Clarence Thomas's corner?
Well, I think because the issue has been muddied. Issues of racism have been thrown out here. The White House is involved in its Bush's reputation. I think the issues are no longer clear. The issues are, did Judge Thomas sexually harass Anita Hill? And this sounds to us, the woman was treated like she was a gangster. She was verbally raped. They said that she fantasized, that she...
Right. And you see all that as an injustice.
I see it as an injustice because on one hand, you're supposed to come forward and tell the truth. And on the other hand, when you do, you are scorned and berated. What woman will come forth now and tell the truth and be pushed around by political bullies?
Fine. Let's try and get everybody in here. I am pleased to call your attention to the recent Sunday New York Times Magazine featuring Professor McKinnon on its cover. And this we should say, what are you laughing about? Same outfit. Same outfit. Well, they'll never accuse you of trying to be she. You probably get it. This, incidentally, was published before this whole kaboom.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday before Monday.
The Sunday that NPR broke the story.
Yes.
Please answer as the same question I asked Miss Reynolds. How do you explain the man? Pick a poll. Pick a poll. The man is. Show him anything. Show him any poll we've got here. Whose polls are these? Whose poll is this? Show him, Brian, if it's ready. Is it? What is this? Oh, this is our poll. This is the Donahue audience poll. The Donahue audience wants him confirmed, 98 to 72. Please, let me... Okay, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we're usurping time more properly devoted to the discussion of the issues. Why, Professor McKinnon, do you believe that the majority of white and black women support the confirmation of Clarence Thomas, I ask you?
Well, of course, it may be that they have other issues in mind. I think they are thinking about this issue, and overwhelmingly, women, particularly black women who bring allegations of sexual abuse, are not believed. Now, you look at this particular allegation of sexual abuse, it seems to me that where Professor Hill has taken the credibility beating has been on the subject of pornography, the specifics of pornography that she mentioned. It seems to me that those things are regarded by people as somehow so incredible, so horrible, so extreme, so wild, so unbelievable.
It's not comfortable to believe
that
it.
people don't feel comfortable believing it. And also because a great many women, unlike a great many men, have not seen this pornography. They do not know that in pornography, Coke cans are used to penetrate women. That's what the pubic hair is doing. It's a direct scenario out of pornography. That in pornography, women with allegedly large breasts, usually who are forcibly implanted with silicone, are presented as having exaggerated sexual desires. It's directly out of pornography. Women are forced to have sex with animals in pornography. It all is directly out of pornography, and women do not know this. And so, as a result, this seems incredible. Now, the Senate could have gone after this issue instead of attempting to destroy Professor Hill's credibility.
After what issue?
The issue of whether it is credible to say that he sexually harassed her through pornography. Instead of going after her credibility, the Senate could have gone directly after pornography and Clarence Thomas's possible consumption of it as a factual issue. You get the FBI on this. You say, does the man use pornography? Did he use it back then?
Would you use video rentals as a proof of that?
Video rentals did not have animals in them 10 years ago. That's partly why most of you who have seen these things on video have not seen sex with animals and wouldn't find it back then.
Where did you see, just curiously, I'm pleased to tell you I'm not sure myself. But this is not unimportant to you, is it?
It's exceptionally important.
Let's
This
understand
woman is
your point here.
crucified.
In 1981, bestiality, as we've come to refer to this,
Right.
would be available where?
In the loops. What the loops are at peep shows where men go to put money in and watch live women in boxes. All right? And the loops are short pieces of pornography that you play over and over and over.
Well, those aren't live women. That would be an old film.
No, those are films in loops, okay? The loops still exist, and very violent and extreme pornography can be seen there.
So you are moved to believe that's possible behavior on the part of the nominee?
Of course it's possible. Well, it's possible behavior just going in on behalf of any man, frankly. Pornography consumers are not little green men from Mars. They're ordinary, everyday, decent men, men who otherwise you would not see any indication of this in their behavior.
Attorney-at-law Gloria Toot, serving proudly in her recent past as an advisor to the Republican National Committee, would want to say what at the outset here?
Incredulous. When you're looking for a career in the federal government, you live in a glass house. You've got to live in a glass house. I've had Senate confirmation. And believe me, you start knowing when you're looking for a political career that you have to be very careful. As a woman, and as one time the chief enforcer for civil rights for this country, we expect, and I know what I would do, if I have had my rights abridged, I'm not going to take it calmly and wait for 10 years. I'm not going to travel with you. I'm not going to travel with you from one job where I have job security to another job simply to hitch onto your star. I will not, after I leave your employment, sit down and casually comment to people what a great guy you are. To the contrary, once I am free, I certainly am going to intimate, if not very boldly, say that you're a rascal and why.
Do you think they believe you?
Whether they believe me or not, I certainly would say it. That's integrity.
Do you
and
want to
that's
be
what we
treated
must
like
look
she's
for
being treated?
in this woman to see whether we can accept her statement.
The professor has a question.
Yeah, do you want to be treated the way she's being treated? I mean, 10 years ago, nobody would believe this. Now, hardly anybody, I mean, many people do, but many people don't.
When you ignore the fact that the woman was a pawn, you see, we must all have sympathy for her. That's number one. It's hard to get to whether her allegation is true or not, because she allowed the years to come into play. We have a statute of limitations so that you can keep your evidence reliable and fresh in the mind. She has denied you and me that opportunity to wisely judge. There were some senators who were intending to stop this Thomas nomination, no matter how low they had to go.
What do you want to say, Barbara? Yeah, let Ms. Reynolds in here.
Yes, I just want to say that I know women that are in abusive situations and have been in them with abusive husbands for 20 years. I myself have been sexually and racially abused, and I still will not talk about it, because to talk about it means I have to think about it. To think about it means I have to hurt again. To hurt again is too much to bear. And now that I see what happens when you do talk about it, many of us will never be able to talk.
If you're a man, you, believe it or not, get to speak on our program. Mr. Brown, sir.
I think the rights of women is a very worthwhile and important vehicle, but I think we're driving it off of a cliff. This is not a man versus woman fight. This is not an issue on pornography. The issue here, and we must keep it in focus, is the rights of the accused versus the person who leaked this vicious rumor about this man. That's what's at issue. I am for women's rights, and not once has Clarence Thomas ever been found guilty of violating any woman's rights in the workplace. I think we have to keep that in focus. I would like to congratulate these people because they are a microcosm of the fairness in the American population, that after watching Senator Kennedy, a hypocrite, and after watching...
After watching who?
And after watching Senator Metzenbaum, who has a double standard, one for black people and one for white people, and after watching Senator Biden pander to the women's movement, the fairness has come through in this country, and people see the hypocrisy of what's going on.
Are you there, caller? I have just a brief moment for your commentary. Go ahead.
Hi, I'd just like to say if he had confessed and had apologized, I totally would have voted for him, and now I'm totally against him.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm from New York, and I'd like to ask a question. What if by some weird chance Ms. Hill is telling the truth, even with all the time that has gone by, and Judge Thomas gets appointed to the bench? How can we know that any woman from now on will get a fair shake in the trial?
I thank you for your comment. Are you there? Hi.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think Anita Hill is full of crap. I think that...
Well, please make your point. Certainly your parents worked hard for your education. I hope...
Well, hey, Phil, anybody can watch them porno movies, and I think that he's getting a raw deal. She could have watched them movies herself and came up with them ideals. I think that he would be good.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut her off. Truly, I didn't. It was an accident. Are you there? Hi. Go ahead.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I have a major problem. I understand women's issues, and I believe it's a very important issue. However, I think it's very dangerous that the National Organization of Women immediately jumps on the Anita Hill bandwagon before any of this proceed went through. My problem, and I want to direct it to Catherine McKinnon, is I saw her speak 2 nights ago with Tom Brokaw on NBC. She at that time said that she believed men as a whole like to dominate women, and that she thought the majority of Americans understood that men believe they are God's gift to women. Why do we listen to garbage like that from women and put them on NBC and ABC, and Phil, throw your name and Tom's into a trash bin?
My name. Certainly you didn't mean me.
That actually is not what I said.
Yeah, okay. You get a chance to speak to the gentleman's point, I promise you, and this audience is more than a little enthusiastic about participating as we discuss certainly one of the most important votes in the history of the United States Senate, which, as we tape, is to happen within hours. And we'll be back in just a moment.
I would have preferred an assassin's bullet to this kind of living hell that they have put me and my family through. And from my standpoint, as a black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas. And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured. by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
Change your old size for a Nutri-Size? Call your Nutri-System Center. We'll teach you how to develop a whole new relationship with food. Nutri-Size your life. Nutri-Size now and lose all the weight you can for the price of a 10-pound program. Call 1-800-321-THIN.
Totino's Pizza.
Now's our chance.
William, what are you doing?
Trust me.
They'll try anything to get their Totino's Party Pizza.
Mad dog! It worked!
Incredible.
Totino's, not too spicy, always crispy, always just right.
Just one more slice.
Bad mom.
Some way, somehow, they're gonna get their Totino's.
Look, now in family size.
Style and grace. For more than 3 decades, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis has captivated us. We've shared her personal triumphs and tragedies. After you watch A Woman Named Jackie, see the actual events of her life and find out how she lives today. Hear from the author and from those who know her. Watch News 4's Don Fratangelo's special report, Jackie Onassis, A Private Life. Tonight at 11, right after the movie.
Nutri-Size now and lose all the weight you can for the price of a 10-pound program. Call 1-800-321-THIN.
Yes, what? Yes.
I'd just like to say that 10 years is an awful long time, and there is a statute of limitations, and why wasn't this spoken about 10 years ago? I mean, she does have an opinion.
You have
There's
raised
a real
that
answer.
Professor McKinney.
The real answer is 10 years ago it was unclear in court that sexual harassment of this sort was illegal. There was no way that you could be at all sure. It had hardly been recognized. Hostile environment sexual harassment like this was not recognized as conclusively illegal until 86, 87.
So why wasn't it spoken of when he was a candidate for the Court of Appeals, the second highest court in the nation? And that was a year ago. The woman has had ample opportunity to make her case. And a woman of integrity, as she alleges to be, realizes that sometimes you may be sacrificed. But if you have integrity, you're willing to take that.
Gloria, you forget, who would she go to? Thomas was in charge of the EEOC, which is the agency that investigates sexual complaints.
She could have gone to the local office for civil rights in the District of Columbia. You have the office of EEOC, and as in most cities and states, you have the state and you have the city civil rights office. She could have gone to the local office for civil rights in the District of Columbia.
May I please?
She had another avenue.
May I please?
But I agree, because she worked for EEOC. She followed him from one agency to the next, and she continued to go there. And McKinnon, you said that she came up calmly and she spoke so calmly. Sure, she spoke calmly, because I'll do it also if she, she was lying. What else would she do? She was lying all the way.
She was lying?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I really have to disagree with you about that.
Tell me. And you should take a moment, Professor McKinnon. Did you say that, as the caller suggests, you told Tom Brokaw that...
No, I didn't. I did say that it's not an unusual thing for men to believe that they're God's gift to women, by which is meant that when a man makes a sexual advance toward a woman and she turns him down, he cannot believe it. Just cannot believe she doesn't want to be with him. Now, should it be, and at the same time, there are many men who understand that that isn't the way the world is, and they have appropriate humility on the subject. I'm just saying that it is not incredible for a woman to say that a man may have responded in this way.
Yes.
And
Why did she listen to him?
Why what?
Why did she listen to him?
She should have left the room.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
We don't know if she didn't leave the room.
Phil, I don't think, I'm not sure if he should be confirmed or not, but I know that some of those senators shouldn't have been there either.
To me, she acts as though she is a woman who's suffering from some form of emotional abuse, and she tried to explain that when she was questioned about that. And what happens is that women have like guilty feelings about what has happened, and they wonder if in some way they solicited that type of behavior, and that is why one reason that she may have suppressed this.
May I show you the poll? Here is CNN, I believe, is it not? Here is CNN's latest numbers, which they've kindly shared with us. Would you like to see the Senate vote in favor of Clarence Thomas? Here you go, CNN Gallup. 53% of the say yes, 30% say no. Of the men, 56% believe he should be confirmed. 28% of men do not. 49% of all women, of all colors, believe he should be confirmed. 32% think he should be rejected. Well, now look at this. 52% of white women say yes to Clarence Thomas's nomination. And 31% say no. 67% of black women, I'm sorry, not women, both people, yes. 67% of all blacks believe Clarence Thomas should take his seat. 24% do not think so. Boy, could you have a field day trying to figure this out. What does this mean? Among other things, may the host offer the following possibility. Black people are rejecting Professor Hill's testimony.
No.
They certainly are. 24%, 67% of black Americans, African American citizens, believe Thomas should be confirmed, and only 24%.
Right,
that's the largest margin.
Your margin was smaller than that before this incident came up. It has been a problem of how he related with African Americans. Our civil rights leaders, quote unquote, said, oh no, he's not your candidate. Yeah. As a consequence, and we are not monolithic, I might add, we have been very divided on this issue. This is the largest vote the guy has had yet.
No, we haven't been divided. 60% of blacks wanted him confirmed before this.
Including the majority of poor black Americans.
The majority. Blacks who don't like Clarence Thomas, for the most part, are the liberal Democratic leaders who have an investment and who are afraid that a black Republican like Clarence Thomas will become a very substantial figure in the black community.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Yes.
What do you think?
Listen, I work in an office for years, and as a secretary, there's nothing that gets by anyone in an office. And believe me when I tell you that. You know everything that's going on in that office.
So it's not believable that somebody else wouldn't know.
That's right. And there was a panel of 9 women at 2 and 3 in the morning last night, and I wish that Ted Kennedy had sat there and listened to those women speak the integrity of Judge Thomas, because he probably would have learned something.
Are you there? Hi, I'm glad you waited.
Phil?
Yeah.
I just want to say, if what she says had happened to me, and I had listened to all that filth that she describes again, how in the hell would I ever do it without shedding one single tear? I can assure you that she'll be sobbing like, well, I can't use the word I want to use.
Good.
But on her broadcast tonight, she'll be spilling a lot of that crap. I could never have done it in front of the senators.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Yes, what I don't understand is why you and the other two against Thomas seem so outraged and surprised that he's garnered such a large majority of public support.
Yeah, tell me. Tell me why.
Well, first of all, when you understand his record, it was not in favor of blacks or women or elderly people. At the EEOC, he has an anti-female, anti-black record. That's the first point. The second point, suddenly when he's in trouble, he cries racism. He says, oh, I'm your black brother. But all along, his friends have been Strom Thurmond, who is not a friend of civil rights, George Bush, who vetoed the civil rights bill. So, you know, I think it is disingenuous to cry racism when you get in trouble, but when you're flying high, you turn your back on poor people, blacks, and women.
Number one, it is not true, and Barbara Reynolds is my dear friend, and I love her, but it is not true that Clarence Thomas has not helped women or blacks. When he was at the EEOC, a case was filed, and it sat there for 10 years against General Motors. He settled the case and forced General Motors, a Republican company, to give $42.5 million to women and to blacks. The second part about Clarence Thomas not being black enough, Clarence Thomas has a right to be black the way he wants to be black. Nobody has any committee. The second thing is that the people who didn't like Clarence Thomas because he was a Republican are the people who are opposing him now, and they are many of the civil rights leaders.
That's not true, Tony, because you don't oppose any Republican. You know, for example, you're a Republican, and I don't oppose you because you've always had ethics and stood up for the rights of poor people. That is not the issue between blacks and liberals and Republicans. It's a matter of ethics. That's the issue.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Pump it. Squeeze it. Spray it. Forget it. When these pre-treaters fail, try harder. Era Plus. Detergent with stain removers built in. Watch Era Plus take on this best-selling pre-treater head-to-head. This is why. It's Era Plus, or else.
First, I lost Monique. She was beautiful and French, but insanely jealous.
Busy signals. You were on the phone with another woman.
Then I lost Natasha.
I can't stop thinking about you. Call me at 8.
Finally, I lost my patience. I got Call Answering, the new voice messaging service from New York Telephone, and my love life's turned around. Oh, hi. It takes messages even while you're on the phone, so there's no more busy signals, and people can leave a message anytime.
You love you, Mom. Introducing Call Answering.
That means I got a message.
It does what an answering machine does and more without the clutter of a machine.
Norman, it's Bernice. You said you'd call.
Isn't love wonderful?
Order Call Answering now. Call 1-800-MESSAGE.
New York Telephone.
Big news, friends. Big news. We're taking the plunge, the A&P price plunge. 260 A&P quality store brand items on sale. A huge reduction, not your average reduction. The A&P price plunge. Quality brands. Primo, yes sirree. 260 popular A&P brand items have been reduced during the A&P price plunge. 75 store brand items are plunging all the way down to half price. Prices in 185 other quality store brand items are reduced big time for a long time. Until November 9th, the A&P price plunge. Over 260 A&P quality items are plunging way down. A&P price plunge. Until November 9th, take the plunge.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Phil. I believe that most Americans now don't believe this is a racial issue. I believe they're looking at Clarence Thomas as a person and not a black man or a white man.
And?
But my feeling is that why is the president only put one person up for the Supreme Court? Why can't, if the Senate confirms this person...
send 5 and have them pick?
No, send 3 and have them choose.
Yes.
I just want to say, I've seen so many cases of women and young girls being sexually harassed and hiding it for years and years and years, and then eventually bringing it up, and it is so painful, and I can totally sympathize for this woman.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. What's the matter? What's the matter?
I feel sorry for him because I don't care if he's guilty or innocent. He's dead in the water because...
You have a sympathy for him?
Certainly. How would you like it?
Anybody who's been squashed like that.
Said you pinched somebody's tush or something.
On national telephone. Yes. Yes.
Why didn't she tell her best friend?
I don't know.
She did.
She did. Yeah, I think a lot of people made up their mind about the whether he's guilty or not before listening to any. If she's lying, then either years ago she told all these lies ahead of time to those 4 other people,
right.
Or there's a big conspiracy. And
Can I make just this observation?
Mm-hmm.
I believe, this is my opinion, which cannot be proven, and certainly could be wrong. I believe a significant percentage of the people who are showing up in the polls as favorable to his taking his seat on the Supreme Court, believe Professor Hill.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
And
I think this
care
woman,
about it.
No,
Put the
that's
guy
right.
on. How much is enough is enough.
I think that's
They
absolutely
agree
right.
with him.
No, this woman
and there is
doesn't
significant
matter.
sympathy working for him.
No, I
But
think
he is not guilty of sexual harassment.
No.
That's the issue that keeps getting thrown on him.
Well, I'm sorry, but we're talking about 10 years ago, a man and a woman. I agree. It's not important at this point. You were talking about possibilities, but what about actuality? Has the man proven that he has integrity and can be placed on the Supreme Court?
But he doesn't have the burden of proof.
Yes. I think it's a waste of
No, but there are two things. Let me say two things.
It's absolutely ridiculous to say it's unimportant because the fact is sexual harassment is not taken seriously in this world.
And it's obviously not taken seriously enough to move the majority of Americans against him.
Well, it has to be taken seriously as long as women are going to be in the workplace because there has to be equality.
Everybody says that, and here we are.
Phil, please. There are two things that have to be said.
Yes, ma'am. Please do, Gloria.
What you said was unfair to the American people and demeaning.
Who?
What you said over there. And you said, oh, well, we don't care. We don't care whether the man did it or not. The American people do care. But the question is one of fairness. In our government, a man or woman is innocent until proven guilty. So the question is, did she prove her case?
If this had been in court, she carried her burden of proof in establishing the fact she had to establish. And the people who were otherwise looking into this did not look into the facts that would have seriously questioned whether he is credible. That is to say, the actual facts about whether or not this man uses pornography. What they did is they accepted the limits he set on the investigation.
Is a question
he
of
said, I will not allow my so-called private life to be looked into.
Did she corroborate that this occurred many years ago?
She had four witnesses.
Let me finish.
She had no witnesses.
She had no witnesses.
She had no witnesses.
Wait a minute.
She had no witnesses.
She's got
at
two
all.
people who said her supervisor. And at that time, she had more than one supervisor.
That's
Please look at your facts. Americans, you and me, we are fair. I don't care what anybody says. We try to do the right thing. Even when one of his witnesses dogged it. Didn't Metzenbaum try to do the same thing with an allegation of sex harassment that was 10 years old? And we saw that with our own eyes.
And the same...
All we want is fairness.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
We'll be fair.
I think we want to love more than we want to be loved. Only love can make you can't look for love. It finds you when you're ready. Only that. I am more open to love now that I'm older.
Only Nana makes love sound like this on Philips CDs and cassettes.
And here's defender Bill Jackson warming up for his title bout with the challenger, the Stork Chocolate Reason. And the fight is on. Oh, it looks like the Stork Chocolate Reason may triumph this time, but hey, Bill shows plenty of staying power. He's no quitter, and yeah, the tide has turned. Bill Jackson has him up against the ropes. Bill Jackson has licked the Stork Chocolate Reason, and now he's enjoying his victory. Stork Chocolate Reason, the chocolate challenge.
Property tax Gaffney. What will he mean for you? Higher property taxes. Gaffney opposed the bipartisan plan that prevented massive property tax hikes. He opposes a salary freeze for county workers. He's part of the property tax-raising Brookhaven political machine. And Gaffney's votes against state aid for Suffolk schools could have raised your taxes $1,800 a year. Property tax Gaffney, a change for the worse.
It's not that I just started gaining weight after I got married or after I had babies. This has been a lifelong problem. I lead a different lifestyle now because of Jenny Craig. The personal counseling was wonderful because they dealt with the very problems and the issues that I needed to face. A year ago, I met my goal, and my son grabbed my hand, and he said, Mom, Jenny would be proud.
Lose all the weight you want for just a $185 program fee. Dial direct 1-800-92-JENNY.
When you're cooking your best, nothing tastes quite like butter. Nothing bastes quite like butter. Nothing bakes quite like butter.
Butter.
Mmm, butter!
When you're cooking your best, nothing tastes quite like butter.
The toughest, most ruthless killer on the street is on our side. Chuck Norris is the Hitman. Rated R starts Friday, October 25th at a theater near you.
Hi, caller. You had a brief comment.
Yes, I worked for the U.S. Air Force 5 years ago. I was verbally assaulted at work, and it came to a point where I was forced to work with a man that I did not want to work with. I told my supervisor. He sent us out to work. I was physically assaulted by this man. Whenever I told my supervisor about it, his comment was, if you're lying, you'll get fired. And, I mean, it takes a lot of guts to come out and admit that someone has assaulted you. Because you have big breasts or you're an attractive woman, that gives men the right to assault you? I don't think so.
I'm glad you called. Are you there? Hi.
Yes.
What do you think?
I was upset with the senator's line of questioning because they kept asking her, you know, why she didn't leave her job. And my comment is that if every woman in America that was sexually harassed left her job or sought to change jobs, there would be very few women left in the workplace.
Yeah. How many?
85%.
Are you there? Hi. I'm glad you waited. Go ahead.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Oh, you know.
Good, sir. Phil, I'm just going to say one thing, that 10 years is a long time, and people do make mistakes. Let's put the past behind us, and let's carry on. He seems like a decent man. Let's give the man the benefit of the doubt.
Can I ask you, let me just ask you to try real hard on this one. You thinking, caller?
Yes, sir.
Here I come. I know you're an honest man. I know you're an honest man. Suppose Anita Hill were white.
Okay.
Wouldn't have happened.
Would he be confirmed?
That's irrelevant. White or black, it doesn't make a difference. It does not make a difference. Let's face it, guys. Men will be men, and women will be women. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Okay? And like I said before...
No,
This is the
you know what?
man of the day, right?
You know what? You're single?
No, sir, I'm married.
You have a daughter?
2.
You have 2 daughters?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can a boss talk to your daughter like that, alone in an office behind a closed door?
I certainly hope not.
And if he did do that...
Would you believe her when she told you?
Yes, I would believe her.
And
but then, of course, don't forget, there's 2 sides.
What happened to boys will be boys?
Well, what happened to girls will be girls. Come on, guys. I mean, let's face the reality.
So your daughter would be capable of behaving in a way that would solicit that kind of conduct?
I would certainly hope not. But then would your son be capable of handling that situation as well?
I'm saying that if he were capable, then he is culpable to a sexual harassment charge. Which is saying more than you're saying about your daughter's involvement in this kind of thing.
If he were, but then, Phil, don't forget what I said before was, that was 10 years ago, okay? People do make mistakes. He seems like a decent man.
And you would give someone who talked to your daughter that way another chance as well?
Well, Phil, you're putting me on the spot here. You're right.
I have 2 daughters also, and sexual harassment is a very serious charge, no matter whether it was today or 10 years ago. But my question is, who are these senators on the panel qualified to judge whether or not he is guilty?
Your fault. You only vote males to Congress.
Phil, may I say this? I don't think you meant to do it, but I think you implied that Thomas has done something. I think we should keep in focus that what you're saying is he was accused of saying. No one has proved that. And let me say one other thing. The lady back there made a mention of it. This is, in essence, as Thomas said, and I quote him, a high-tech lynching. The most credible witnesses that have been on the hearings were the 4 women last night
who spoke for
but they were different from the 4 who spoke for Hill because they knew both Hill and Thomas.
Yeah, so you give them more credibility then.
But look at the high-tech lynching. The networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, showed the panel against Thomas and then cut away to other programming and did not show the panel in favor of Thomas.
It amazes me that after 10 years that this woman has an awful lot of trouble remembering who she spoke to, who she didn't speak to, but when she has to say exactly word for word what this man
I
has
think
said,
credibly so, that this is a comment you'll never forget.
10 years. Do you remember what you did with the first date you went out on your wife? Verbatim?
Absolutely. I remember, absolutely.
And then,
I remember my first kiss.
And then she gave 2
versions. If I had time, I'd be happy to
Phil, she
review.
gave two versions. She gave one version to the FBI, and then when she got to the Senate hearings, she had another version with long dong and the rest of it.
It was added information.
She simply added details that were consistent with everything she had said.
I think the American people have something else in mind also, which is my fear. After it looked as if they were successful in defeating Clarence Thomas, some people in America said, we have shown our political power. Now we can show what we can do to those who control our government. If we allow sexual harassment to be proven in such a manner for which there is no proof, that the mere innuendo and statement is sufficient, how safe are our legislators and those in government who, when it's time to take a vote on abortion or sensitive issues, may have this used as a weapon against them?
But how...
As an American, it bothers me.
But how
we must have proof.
Phil, what about Tawana Brawley?
No,
well, what about...
Barbara, you're entitled. Let her make it. Please, go ahead.
One of them is a colossal liar. Now, Hill has taken a lie detector test, and I know it's not admissible in court. Why can't Clarence Thomas take a lie detector test? It is wrong for someone to get on the court. Will he have to recuse himself later if it's a pornography case? If it's
Barbara,
a case about women?
Who else has to take a lie test?
Thank you.
Jack Ruby took one,
Thomas
and he
should take
passed
one.
it.
Hill already passed hers.
We saw Jack Ruby shoot John Kennedy, and he passed the lie detector test. That's correct. Because a lie detector test, measures inner conflict.
Yes, it does.
And a person with a conscience has inner conflict.
Okay.
A
Some people can lie
has
and
no
feel
inner
real good
conflict.
about it. That's true.
So what would she have to have done? Would she have to videotape it?
No,
I mean,
there is another possibility, and we may as well raise it.
Some of the psychiatrists to videotape it, Tony?
No, some of the psychiatrists are suggesting that there's a phenomenon called erotomania, which is falling in love with objects for power and so forth. I'm not saying this is true.
It's standard pornographic nonsense.
But there is as much evidence that she has a disorder as there is evidence that Clarence Thomas did what she said.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
This brings back memories. Oh, these are great. What's this remind you of? Tastes like vanilla, huh? Senior trip. Paris. That cafe. Yeah.
Rich, creamy tasting coffee with a hint of vanilla flavor. New French Vanilla Cafe.
I love this coffee.
New from General Foods International Coffees.
I loved that waiter. Jean-Luc.
Celebrate the moments of your life.
You may never need Pearl's free breakage guarantee. But you never know. At Pearl, we'll repair or replace your glasses free, no matter how they break. The limited warranty is good for 1 full year from date of purchase. Now look for Pearl's money-saving coupons.
It's constant.
Steady and totally unpredictable.
It's like not old.
I want news at 3 a.m. Bingo! For a sports fan, heaven.
It's quite economical.
It's a chronicle of our times. It's great for kids.
It's the movies you've got to see.
The educational stuff. It really is a bargain.
Where else you gonna see classic films?
Incredible plays, big-time boxing. Super comedy. Oh, and the games you can't miss. Shoot-'em-ups, nail-biters.
Tear-jerkers.
Whoopi, Rock.
De Niro.
Gloria. Goodman.
Tom.
Ted.
Steve.
Let's face it.
It's a great deal.
Just call 1-800-OK-CABLE for a special $9.95 hookup.
Today.
Cable.
It's everything you want.
And more than you can imagine.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
You wanted to say, Professor McKinnon.
I'm just going to say that the questions about what this does to the American political process, I think, are extremely important. And I think that it's that men being held accountable in public for their sexual abuse of women, potentially, is something that it is important that happen in this process. I do not object to this process. It seems to me that when a woman comes forward and says something like this, which affects, if true, that man's political judgments about policy on women's equality across the board, for example, consumption of pornography, it is well documented, makes men hate women in the sense that they believe women ask to be raped, are in the job to be raped, invent sexual abuse, fantasize sexual abuse, are erotomaniacs, etc. Does any of this sound familiar? This is the consequence of the consumption of pornography, as is very well documented.
Issues about which the judge will be asked to rule. I'm sorry. Issues about which the judge will be asked to rule on the bench.
Well, yes, and if this had been treated as an actual case that did turn on the facts, the fact is that Professor Hill has done as much as one can to establish those facts.
Yes. And why do you think...
I want to say one more thing, and that is, she is entitled to that job without discrimination.
Yes,
she does not have to leave that job. Her legal right is to stay on it and to get it stopped. If
why
she
do you
went
think
to a
the
judge,
Senate Judiciary...
that's all she could have done.
Why did the Senate Judiciary Committee fail to explore the pornography issue, which you find so abidingly important?
I think it's a male bonding situation in which these men who, according to Mr. Brown, are so eager to go into anything they can find to destroy this man, have restrained themselves, accepted his limits on their investigation of him as to the subject of pornography. I don't know if they did factual investigations that established that he used it or not. I don't know if they have guilty consciences. I don't know if they were bullied by him on the subject of racism. I do know that they did not inquire into the central factual issue of this case, and the American women particularly have a right to know the answer.
Yes. Sir, hold it.
Yes, as a retired police officer, you know, for 25 years, I like to say one thing. In my past knowledge of criminals, so to speak, I'm not an expert on any sexual thing or anything, but there has always, and I can tell you, always been a pattern with a criminal. If he's a pickpocket, he likes to stay with pickpockets all the time. If he's an armed robber, he'll stay with armed robbery all the way. If he's a sex offender, so to speak, quote unquote, sex offender, they continue
It'll be a
stay
pattern.
in that pattern.
There'll be a pattern.
And from what I've heard,
there's no pattern.
There is no pattern.
There is a pattern.
Yes.
There is a
Yeah,
pattern.
but you've
this
only...
pattern went on over a series of years. Plus,
You've only heard the testimony of one person.
Well, there is another one. Well, there is.
Oh.
It's a pattern.
Can't hear myself.
You can't make
the issue I just wanted to say was that
other women cannot be hail, hail, hail. That's all I'm saying.
No, Angela Wright
about
also.
Angela Wright.
Angela Wright.
Angela Wright also said that Clarence Thomas sexually harassed her. The woman was intimidated so badly she did not show up, but it was put in the record as along with another woman, Rose Jourdain.
Right.
So it's in the record. It's not Anita Hill versus Clarence Thomas. There is at least one other woman on record.
She does not allege sexual harassment on the job.
She alleges
I stake my professional reputation on
the
that.
job.
You should stop spreading what is not true.
And that's all.
Yes. Let me, before we break, show them the results. Here is the Donahue audience poll. If I were a U.S. Senator, I would vote to, this is number 49. In our audience today, 98 of you would confirm, 72 would not confirm. Among the women, 80 will confirm, 63 will not. Thank you, senators. Among the men in our audience today, 18 will confirm, 9 will not confirm. And we know who you are, and there will be an investigation. Now, here is the Donahue office poll. Here are the merry band of troublemakers from the Donahue office. Only 2... Wait a minute. Could it be that we are out of the mainstream of America here? We are quite obviously not in sync with the majority opinion of our own.
Well, you have a newspaper in your hand, USA Today.
USA Today.
Yes, so why don't you give them those
Reynolds
numbers?
will not be upset if I show that.
Barbara, here's your cover of your paper. Did you see
I
it?
don't speak for the paper. I'm just I don't speak for the paper.
Well, that says 57% of the men believe Thomas, and 53% of the American women believe Thomas.
Of the Donahue office poll. Show them the men in the Donahue office. The women. Where did we leave off? 53. Look at this. The women in our office only 2 voted to confirm. 10. Of the men in our office, all the men in the office voted not to confirm Clarence Thomas. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Ready for the perfect vacuum cleaner? Here it is, the new Dirt Devil Power Pack. The convenience of a canister vacuum with a power nozzle that adjusts to any surface. Get power and convenience with Power Pack. It's new from Dirt Devil.
Drixoral is. Sudafed isn't. Drixoral is. Contac isn't. Drixoral is the only 12-hour cold medicine you can buy that was once a prescription and is still available in its original prescription strength. Drixoral.
I love it. That's the color.
It's perfect. You like it?
I love it.
The colors you love for the people you love. Pittsburgh Paints. Proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team.
All Pergamon stores celebrate the grand opening of our 2 new mega home centers, Bay Parkway and Avenue U, Brooklyn. Pittsburgh Paints Home Guard Premium Semi-Gloss Interior, just $16.99 a gallon.
ShopRite does more to save you more.
There's so many ways to save here.
Like the half-price sale.
A half-price sale on top of everything else? Wow!
It's the half-price sale everybody waits for.
During ShopRite's half-price sale, Chase and Sanborn Brick Pack half-price, 94 cents. Great Bear Spring Water half-price, $1.24. And Flavor King Ice Cream half-price, 99 cents.
At these prices, I'm tempted to buy twice as much.
We save you money. More money.
ShopRite does it right.
A decision is near. It's time for these senators to decide who's telling the truth. Has Judge Thomas cleared his name for the nomination? News 4 takes you live to Washington to hear from the politicians deciding Thomas's fate. A tense standoff with police ends in suicide. A man who allegedly killed his father and 3 others takes his own life. We'll take you to this troubled Long Island neighborhood. And New York loves a parade as thousands turn out to honor Columbus. We'll take you to the celebration and show you who else came out, starting at 5 on News 4 New York.
Once more from the Donahue office. Of the 5 African-American members of the Donahue office, all 5 voted not to confirm. The white staffers in our office broke out 12 not to confirm, 2 to confirm, and obviously there'll be an internal investigation tomorrow.
All the polls that are being taken today, or this time, the students. Never hear a word about the students. They're getting a history lesson from this.
They certainly are.
And a lesson in the hatred of women from this.
If Judge Thomas is found innocent and this blemishes his career, I'm sure he's going to retain most of the public's respect.
You think so? Yes.
How have these polls changed since this sexual harassment has come?
Not altogether that much. I think you'd agree, Tony.
He regained 50% of what he lost before.
Yes.
I just wonder, Judge Thomas categorically denied everything. Yes. And it seems to me that if everything that Ms. Hill said is a lie, then everything that he said, it might also be possibly a lie. And he said this under oath.
You mean if everything she says is true, then he perjured himself.
That's exactly
And if everything he said is true, she perjured herself.
That's right.
So aren't we somewhere now? Thank goodness for us. We've solved this whole thing, and we'll be back in just a moment.
It starts with itch and irritation, and then hemorrhoid flare-up. For soothing, cooling relief on contact, get Tux medicated pads. Tux pads, the one hospitals trust most. Your Flex is back.
I started using Flex years ago, but then they changed it. Bad idea. But they got smart and changed it back, and it's better than ever. Good move, Flex. The see-through bottle, the fragrance we love, balsam and silk protein, Flex shine and manageability are back in our hair. Our Flex is back, so we're back to Flex.
Before you choose a body shop, what about structural tolerances? Can they really return your car to pre-accident performance? Will your car look as good as new? Will the work be done at your convenience? If you don't know, you better get Mako.
Hi, we're here at Kansas Deli talking about the New York Telephone regional calling area. And helping me illustrate is Deli Man Marvin Waldman. Did I use your correct title, Marvin? Is Deli Man the correct way?
Yeah. Whatever.
Okay. Marvin, what looks good today?
Well, I made a little model of the New York Telephone regional calling area. The Locks is Long Island, the gefilte fish is Westchester and Rockland, and the pickled herring is the 5 boroughs.
And practically all calls anywhere in this area are connected by New York Telephone.
Right. If you call across the street, that's on New York Telephone. To Long Island, New York Telephone.
And from the gefilte fish to the Locks is New York Telephone. A delightful presentation, Marvin. And if you're short on fish, just check out the back of your telephone bill. Regional calling from New York Telephone. Marvin, let me have a piece of Long Island with a schmear.
We're all connected, New York Telephone.
Please pass the all fruit.
Pass the Polaner all fruit.
Pass the Polaner all fruit.
Would you please pass the jelly?
Polaner all fruit is real fruit, sweetened only with fruit juice and no added sugar. You'll call it delicious, you'll call it remarkable, but please don't dare call it jelly. Polaner all fruit, the spreadable fruit.
For a transcript of today's program, send $3 check or money order to Donahue Transcripts, 1535 Grand Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 303-831-9000.
Can taking a pill make you smarter? Doctors are divided, and it's the newest drug craze. Next, Donahue.
Thank you, Gloria Toot. Thank you, Catherine McKinnon. Thank you, Tony Brown. And thank you, Barbara Reynolds in Washington.
Gentlemen, sir, you wanted to say. I do. I think it is important to remember history. Back when, and the importance of how this is evolving, when Patty Hearst said that she was brainwashed a number of years ago, people laughed. When Jim Jones led 500 people a couple of years later
to manipulate a person into doing this?
No, what I'm saying is that I don't
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Yeah, they're rolling out the good times with Yahtzee. Yahtzee players, lovers, and friends. With Yahtzee, the good times never end.
Yahtzee from Milton Bradley.
The Presto Salad Shooter Slicer Shredder. Point and shoot wherever you want it. To clean, just rinse and wipe. Store anywhere. The Presto Salad Shooter.
For the perfect weekend and the perfect frequent stay program, check into the new Drake, the only Swiss hotel on Park Avenue.
Bob Gaffney for county executive? Gaffney's extreme anti-abortion position would outlaw abortion even for victims of rape and incest. He even votes against all state aid for Suffolk schools and towns, just because a tiny fraction of the budget pays for medically necessary abortions. Gaffney's anti-choice extremism could have cost our schools $5 billion and cost you $1,800 a year in higher property taxes. Remember that this November.
Is your furniture budget making you settle for a lot less? Well, don't just settle.
It's the last day of Siemens Columbus Day sale with just 10% down on any purchase and an additional 10% off already low Columbus Day sale prices. Special store hours are today, 10 a.m. to midnight.
So see how easy it is to have the beautiful room you've always wanted.
See for yourself.
Siemens Columbus Day sale.
Siemens first.
Be a volunteer. Do it for New York. Do it for yourself.
The Real Life of Jackie Onassis, tonight at 11.
Coming up on News 4 at 5, it is the eve of the Senate vote on the nomination of Clarence Thomas to the United States Supreme Court. We'll tell you how your senators and some ordinary folk at the Columbus Day Parade react to the sexual harassment allegations against Thomas. And in just a few minutes, Anita Hill is going to hold a news conference in Oklahoma City, and we'll take you there live.
From WNBC-TV, this is News 4 New York at 5 with Sue Simmons, Chuck Scarborough, Al Roker's weather, and Len Berman's sports shorts.
Well, good evening. As I'm sure you'll agree, it is tragic and often grotesque theater. And tomorrow, the key scene will be acted out.
Clarence Thomas called Anita Hill a liar. Hill said Thomas sexually harassed her, and she passed a lie detector test. We begin our team coverage with News 4's Steve Handelsman live in Washington. Steve?
Good evening. They've learned the hard way, so the supporters of Clarence Thomas here are taking nothing for granted. He came out of the hearings ahead in the polls, and he seems to have momentum today here on the Hill. But the vote tomorrow could be very close.
I think that the evidence is very strongly in favor of Clarence Thomas.
Thomas's Senate sponsor, John Danforth, says he smells victory.
By margins of about 2 to 1 or so, the American people are inclined to believe Clarence Thomas over Anita Hill.
This entire proceeding is ended.
Before the final gavel fell on the Judiciary Committee spectacle at 2 a.m. on Capitol Hill, the polls were already out. A USA Today sample of 758 people last night. Who is more believable? Thomas over Hill, 47 to 24%. The Los Angeles Times poll, Saturday and Sunday, 1,300 people nationwide. Should Thomas be confirmed? Yes, 51%, no, 25%. And in the same poll, support for Thomas among blacks, 61%. Among whites, 50%. President Bush is sore at the Democrats, but relieved at the polls.
Yes, I am very pleased with the way the support all across the country is holding strong for Judge Thomas. It's important to note that among Afro-Americans, Black Americans, that the support is very, very strong.
Senator Bob Graham's office, please hold. Senator Bob Graham's office.
Calls are flooding into the Senate. This was the office of undecided Florida Democrat Bob Graham. Among Republicans, only Jeffords and Packwood have said they'll vote no. 4 Democrats, Bro, DeConcini, Hollings, and today Bennett Johnson, say they will vote yes.
I don't believe a woman who has been victimized, as she claims to have been, calls up just to say hello after the employment has been terminated.
So among the remaining dozen undecided Democrats, Thomas needs the votes of 5. Vice President Quayle would break the 50-50 vote tie. But incredible as it may sound, tomorrow they will have another debate on Clarence Thomas. 5 hours and 45 minutes, and it could get nasty. The vote is still scheduled tomorrow at 6. This is Steve Handelsman reporting live from the U.S. Capitol. Back to you.
Steve, thank you.
Well, it's a vote that many senators might prefer to avoid for the obvious reasons. Feminists and civil rights activists and supporters of Thomas and supporters of Hill are going to be looking over the senators' shoulders. News Force Tony Guida looks at how the senators in these parts intend to vote.
Clarence, you made it this far on merit. The rest is going to be politics.
The politics of the Clarence Thomas confirmation vote may not have been changed dramatically by the tumultuous hearings of the past 3 days. Political scientists tell News 4 they believe political ideology will have more to do with tomorrow night's vote than the explosive charges of Anita Hill, primarily because they have not been proven.
Senators who came out for Thomas and said yes before will now have to say they have to think about it and review the transcripts. But for a senator to change their vote now would also mean they have to publicly come out and say one or the other of these two people is lying. And I think that's a difficult decision in the absence of a smoking gun.
In New York, Democratic Senator Moynihan may have been swayed by the sexual harassment charges. Before they emerged, Moynihan favored Thomas. Now he's undecided. But Republican D'Amato remains firmly behind his president's choice. New Jersey senators both lined up against Thomas before, and they remain opposed.
My decision was made a couple of weeks ago when, in an examination of Judge Thomas's record, I felt he wasn't seasoned enough, not experienced enough for the Supreme Court. So I wasn't swayed.
In Connecticut, another possible switch. Democrat Lieberman, who was for Thomas, now is undecided. Dodd was and is now undecided. The woman who spoke first in that story is Lynn Brown, a political scientist at NYU. Thomas has 41 Republican senators on board. He needs the votes of only 9 Democrats to be assured of confirmation. Vice President Quayle, of course, would cast the tie-breaking vote. But neither Thomas nor the White House would be comfortable with such a slim margin. And they're both hoping they can count the 60-plus votes they believe that Thomas had before this controversy. Chuck, Sue?
Thank you, Tony.
Well, the incredible drama on Capitol Hill that began when Professor Hill took the witness stand Friday ended at 2 a.m. this morning. Committee Chairman Senator Joseph Biden brought his gavel down and ended the grueling Thomas confirmation hearings. These are just some of the highlights.
He said that if I ever told anyone of his behavior, that it would ruin his career. This was not an apology, nor was it an explanation.
I would have preferred an assassin's bullet to this kind of living hell that they have put me and my family through.
Anita Hill told me that she was upset because her boss was making sexual advances towards her. I recall that she was clearly very disturbed by these advances and that she cried during the telephone call.
I don't know who she was trying to kid, because the Anita Hill that I knew and worked with was nothing like that. She was a very hard, tough woman. She was opinionated, she was arrogant, she was a relentless debater, and she was the kind of woman who always made you feel like she was not going to be messed with.
She told me that she was being subjected to sexual harassment from her boss, to whom she referred by name. That boss was Clarence Thomas.
He's a man of strength. He's a man of character. He's a man of high moral standing. And I tell you that it's not possible that he could be linked with the kinds of things that have been alleged against him here. If it were true, it's the greatest Jekyll and Hyde stories in the history of mankind.
Witnesses for both sides agree that Judge Thomas and Professor Hill have been damaged by the proceedings.
The Senate Judiciary Committee decided not to hear the testimony of a woman who says she, too, was the victim of sexual pressure from Judge Thomas. Pressure. Angela Wright, who was fired by Thomas when she worked at the EEOC, says the judge asked her out on dates, made frequent comments about her body, and once showed up uninvited at her home. Well, late last night, the committee decided to accept transcripts of an interview with Wright instead of having her testify.
Due to the lateness of the hour, my counsel and the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee came to an agreement that the 2-hour testimony that I'd given by phone to the staffers when they contacted me would be sufficient. It would go in the record without rebuttal, and that is perfectly satisfactory to me.
And Wright says she never felt threatened by Judge Thomas. She calls his alleged comments obnoxious and annoying.
The testimony in the Thomas case rubs raw issues. Stereotypes involving men and women, black men and black women, again are being examined and discussed. News 4's Don Williams continues our reports.
I would have preferred an assassin's bullet.
It landed like the hit of a hammer. Judge Thomas throwing a roundhouse that left the Senate Judiciary Committee and America wobbling on its knees.
We still have underlying racial attitudes about black men and their views of sex.
It's the issue of race and black male sexuality. Political dynamite exploding across America.
I believe that race is an issue in these proceedings. However, I think that he's really evoking these images that are going to instill guilt.
In my personal opinion, every black man is on trial.
It hit at the parts in all of us that harbor our unfounded opinions about others. Something Dr. Robert Carter at Teachers College of Columbia University says was hiding just beneath the surface at the hearings all along.
I think he's saying something out loud that many people believe to be true in private.
But what about the stereotypes and black male sexuality? Were Anita Hill's allegations that Judge Clarence Thomas talked of his sexual prowess and penis size provoking unfair images of black men?
So some of the folklore that evolved around racist thinking had to do with the kinds of things that were talked about and described in repeatedly in detail during the hearings.
It's ridiculous, and it has no bearing on this case at all.
So what is the best possible outcome of all of this? Professor Carter says if the silence surrounding racism is broken, we can come clean about our views. We can then begin to erase some of the stereotypes buried in our psyches. And while it seems trite to say, to get beyond what we believe is real about others to who they really are will mean, of course, greater harmony.
Don,
Sue?
thank you.
Thanks, Don. While the American system is deciding the fate of Clarence Thomas, thoughts also turn today to the very beginning of this system and the man who helped make it possible. It is Columbus Day. This morning there was the annual wreath-laying ceremony at the statue of Christopher Columbus at Columbus Circle, and then the parade began. But in the midst of the celebration, the Thomas debate continued, and News 4's Gabe Pressman reports.